Hello, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which is the BookTuber Bio Tag. I was tagged by the lovely Charlotte over at Coiny Reads. I figured this was perfect timing as I'm reintroducing myself to the BookTube community. I've had this channel for years, but I was on a fairly prolonged hiatus while I was dealing with my personal life and have just started coming back and posting videos. So I feel like there are a lot of subscribers that have maybe forgotten about me. Also, a lot has changed in the last couple of years, and there are quite a few new subscribers here as well. So I figured this would be the perfect time to tell you a little about myself and my reading habits, and this tag is perfect for that. So we're gonna dive right in, but before we do any of that, I just want to give my channel a shameless plug. I am very nearly at 1,000 subscribers, so if you like this video, like what I talk about on my channel, please hit that subscribe button. So the first question is, who are you? Share a little bit about yourself. So my name is Brittany. I am the booktuber here at Literarily Smitten. I'm 35 years old and a Capricorn, if anyone is interested, and I live in the Hudson Valley in what some people consider upstate New York. I'm about 2 hours by car or by train from New York City. In 2022, I bought a 140-year-old Victorian house, and for the last couple of years, well, last few years actually, it's coming up 3 years, I've been slowly turning it into my home, and that's really what triggered my hiatus. Really getting my bearings, learning how to be a solo homeowner, and just grappling with all of the responsibilities that come along with living on your own and also having to care for a house. And in the last year, I have adopted a German short-haired pointer mix named Memphis, that I also refer to affectionately as the Chaos Demon. He is currently sleeping on a bed like 5 feet away from me. He's my little shadow and I love it. But what else is there to say about me? I went to Cornell University. I was class of 2012, and I was a double major. I studied English literature and history. My focus with English literature was Victorian novels and Victorian literature in general. And then my focus in history was actually Russian history, in particular Imperial Russian, so the Romanov dynasty, from its beginnings basically through to the revolution. I touched on some of communist Russia, but not a ton. Nowadays, I work in marketing, so I'm actually an associate marketing director at a PR and digital marketing agency, which thankfully allows me to work remotely. I have wonderful clients and work on a variety of different projects. Hobbies, baking. I really want to get back into bread baking, needlework, embroidery in particular. I would love to get back into that, but it took a little bit of a back burner when I got Memphis. Is there anything else interesting about me? I don't even know if any of that was interesting. I guess the only other thing to say is that I'm a huge movie lover. In particular, I am drawn to dramas, and I love a good classic movie from the 1930s basically through the 1950s. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the bookish content. How long have you been on BookTube? So technically I started this channel in the summer of 2020. So this was a COVID pandemic related channel. It's something where I'd been watching BookTube pretty consistently for a long time. I was reading what felt like dozens of books in a month. And so I was kind of like, why don't I do this myself? Why don't I give it a shot? And so I was posting videos pretty consistently for the first 6 months, once a week, and then I moved to twice a week. And then, as I mentioned, in 2022, things kind of fell off. I've tried to make a return a couple of times, since then, but none of them unfortunately have stuck. This time is gonna be different, I swear. But so technically this channel is 5 years old, or will be 5 years old, but it's only probably been active for 2.5 to 3 years of that time. Okay, so the next question is, what kind of books do you love to read, and has BookTube had an effect on what you read? So for that first part, I would say that I am very, very, very passionate about history, and that has bled through to my recreational reading. I am a huge historical fiction reader. I'd say that is probably my primary genre. I am also a nonfiction history reader, and that includes related biographies and memoirs. What else do I enjoy? I enjoy a good classic, which ties back to my love of Victorian literature, and also Russian literature. Tolstoy is a particular favorite of mine. Literary fiction. I really do love the beautiful prose in literary fiction. It's those ones that are so vivid, and each word is chosen with such precision that it just literally paints this picture of a scene or a personality or an emotion. I love that. I live for that. And then most recently, I've gotten into the romance genre, both contemporary and historical. So you'll see a lot of that on this channel. As for, has BookTube had an effect on what I read? I would say probably not. I am very, very, very stubborn, and so I feel like what I described to you just now is a lot of what I have always read, and that was true of when I started this channel and is still true today. I think maybe the only difference is that BookTube helped me to discover, modern romances, not in the sense that they're set in modern times, but just authors who are writing romance today, which feels very different from the, bodice rippers with like the Fabio model type cover. I'll put one on the screen if you don't know what I'm talking about, but I think most of you will. That would have been the books that my like mother or grandmother were reading. And that was my impression of what romance as a genre was, which did not interest me. And then BookTube did introduce me to the authors who do write more diverse stories, who do address sort of the Me Too moment with consent, and stories that just I feel like have a little bit more emotional depth to them. And I'm talking about like the Talia Hibberts, the Helen Huangs, the Chloe Lisas, even the Evie Dunmores. Like, I do feel like those stories have more substance to them than the earlier ones. So I would say that has been the biggest change. Question number 4 is, what do you enjoy about making BookTube videos? I think really it is the community that you create with a BookTube channel. That was one of the reasons I have tried repeatedly to come back, because that is what I have missed. I feel like there were so many subscribers and just viewers in general who would comment on my videos week after week after week, and you become friends through doing that and having those conversations. And it was great for people to like share similar interests and be passionate about something that I was equally passionate about. So that in itself, what the BookTube community is and what creating a BookTube channel does, is what I enjoy about BookTube. I also love, when you put time and energy into a video and it performs really well, that feeling of like, oh yeah, what I said resonated with people. But in general, even those videos that don't perform well, but that I've put a lot of time and energy into, it's nice to be able to say, hey, here's this finished product, and to have something to show for it. So there is like a very tangible outcome that is very enjoyable in and of itself. So question number 5, what do you not enjoy about making booktube videos? I would say the pressure, maybe. And that's something that I've tried to really change this time around. I feel like when you are a booktuber, when you do have a channel, there is a lot of pressure on you to be reading at like superhuman speeds and reading like hundreds of books a year. There's also a lot of pressure for you to put videos out consistently, and for some of the large channels, that is 2 or 3 videos a week. With this channel now, I'm trying to make it to remember the fun of it and not put any sort of number goals on it for myself as far as how many books I'm reading, how many videos I'm putting up a month or a week. But I think that pressure can be very paralyzing at times. It can lead to a lot of burnout. It can lead to sort of slumps both in reading and in creativity. And so I would say that would be like the one downside to BookTube. Question number 6, what video on your channel are you most proud of? So I have a few videos that really stick out to me and are ones that I'm particularly proud of and fond of. The first ones that come to mind are my quarterly book bracket videos, which I'll link some in the description box for you, but essentially the same way that you have brackets in sports, I would create a bracket each quarter of my like 5-star reads and go through this rubric that I had created to basically live on camera with no like real preparation talk through which book was my like favorite for the quarter, and then at the end of the year I would take those favorite books and basically pit them against each other to determine my favorite book of the year. And I had a lot of fun with those videos. They were a lot of fun to film, a lot of fun to edit. And so I am hoping that I can get back to doing those. It does require you to read more books than I am currently, probably. But I really enjoyed those videos. And then I would say the other videos in general that I really enjoyed would be my like top reads of the year, which is similar vein, but again, it's sort of a culmination of your reading journey for an entire year, and so it's nice to really reflect on those books that truly resonated with you and have kind of lived rent-free in your brain, and really hype them up for people watching your videos, and hopefully, you know, make someone else read them and fall in love with them too. So I feel like those types of videos are always among my favorites. 7, is there anything you wish was different about BookTube? Yes. I mean, the pressure thing for sure, but I think the main one for me is that there is this perception that unless you're like college aged, unless you are reading fantasy, sci-fi, romance, you can't have a successful BookTube channel. I feel like the biggest channels tend to be in those genres with a couple of exceptions. And I would love some of my fellow adult booktubers, as some of us refer to ourselves as, to not have to deal with that perception that like your channel can't be as big or as popular as those individuals. And that's not to like to give any shade in general. I just think that overall the booktube community tends to focus more heavily on those channels, and it makes sense. I feel like that's a large sort of majority of the people who are using social media and who are using YouTube on a regular basis. But I would just love for, you know, channels that focus on other genres and that have booktubers that are older to also thrive in a similar way. Question 8. Name 3 books that you have reviewed on your channel that you feel represent who you are as a reader. Hole mole. Only 3. Okay. Let's think about this. Thinking. That is interesting. Okay. I guess the first book would be Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I think that speaks to my love of historical fiction and beautiful writing. It's very gothic and moody and atmospheric. It's very character driven. And, you know, they're just books that I'm obsessed with. I've read almost Sarah Waters' entire backlist. I think I have one more book to read. They're right behind me. I can't see them. Yeah, I think I have one more of her books to read at this point. So I'd say Fingersmith. The Unwomanly Face of War by Svetlana Alexievich, which is nonfiction history. It is about women in Russia during World War II, and it's not just, it's looking at women who are on the front line as partisans, as nurses, it's spies, it's also just everyday women living their everyday lives, and it's so interesting because it is basically an oral history. So it's these women telling their own stories in this beautiful collection that is also in, you know, a written format. And it's one of the few nonfiction books, like, of that type, not like a memoir, that has made me cry. And it was just so vivid and so beautiful, and it's one of my favorite books of all time, I would say, at this point. And that, you know, women's history, World War II, Russian history, all kind of smooshed together. So that would be another one. The third book, Moon Tiger. That's gonna be my final answer. Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively. It is literary fiction. I think it won a Booker Prize in the late 80s. But it's about Claudia, who's this strong, fiercely independent woman, reflecting on her own life. And as she puts it, she's going to tell the history of the world, but it's through the lens of her own human experience. And it kind of chronicles before, during, and after World War II. There are some really interesting characters, some beautiful lines that kind of haunt me. I've read it at least twice now. I think I've basically read it once a year since I discovered it. And it lives rent-free in my brain. So yeah, we'll go with that one. Okay, question 9. Name 3 booktubers whose content inspires you. Easily Olive over at A Book Olive. Her channel has always been inspiring because I do feel like her reviews are so clear. Her interests are, you know, specialized, but also very varied, if that makes any sense. She has such a wonderful audience and community over there, and she really does a lot for the booktube community as far as promoting nonfiction and also promoting small booktubers, because she was one of the reasons my channel grew. She does an annual video where she talks about 10 booktubers that she's watching and enjoying, and I was one of them one year, and it changed so much for me, and I still can't thank her enough, quite honestly. So I love her content. I love who she is as an individual from what I've seen. So definitely Olive. I would also say Shelly over at Shelly-ish. Again, has such an interesting like collection and curation of books that she reads, and is just so delightful and bubbly and just effervescent on camera. And so I really enjoy watching her videos. I've really enjoyed getting to know her more, and I'm honestly hoping that we can reconnect a little bit more now that I am back on BookTube. But definitely Shelley. And then I couldn't not give a shout out to Charlotte over at Coiny Reads, who tagged me here. We have hosted the Her Storyathon together a few times. She's hosting it solo this year, while I'm getting used to BookTube and, you know, everything that goes along with it. But she's another fellow history lover, and her content is just great, and you can tell how passionate she is about what she reads and the topics in history that she discusses, and I love that. I love when she throws herself sort of headlong into projects like her Les Mis series when she was reading that a couple years ago. So yeah, my girl Charlotte over at Coiny Reads. And then the last one is Share the Love. It can be challenging to find your audience, so name 3 booktubers who you think need more hype. Charlotte, obviously, all the hype for her. She's about to hit 500 videos, which is insane. That's a huge milestone, and I am so proud of her. I would also say Gloria over at Gloria Z Thompson, a new mama, which just melts my heart, but also someone who reads a lot of historical fiction and is just delightful and so warm and just personable in her videos. And so it's been great to talk to her about certain books. And I actually think Charlotte and I are going to be trying to do a buddy read of Catherine the Great by Robert K. Massey. This would be my second read of the biography, but I'm well overdue, and neither of them have read it. So gotta give a shout out to her as well. Her channel has grown so much too, and I'm so proud and so impressed by that as well. And then lastly, Catherine over at Raspberry Reads. Her channel is like, she's so close to 900 subscribers, and she's a fellow historical fiction reader, but she also reads crime thrillers and dystopian and some literary fiction, but she is also very delightful, and I would love to see her hit 1,000 subscribers. So those would be some of the channels that I want to hype. So yes, that would be my very, very chatty BookTuber Bio Tag video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've had a good time having a chat with you, but I would love, whether you're a booktuber or not, like, in the comment section, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you like to read. Answer that question, 3 books that basically sum up who you are as a reader. I would love to see the answer to that question, because that one was a doozy. It made me think long and hard. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, giving it a thumbs up and leaving a comment mean the world to me, and I would so appreciate it. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.